The second full Saturday of the 2024 college football season. Live right here on College Football Today on SportsGrid. He is the mastermind of the college football pigskin. That is Joe Lisi. He is OK Dubs. That is Kevin Walsh. And I am Ben Stevens. We are live here for the next 3 hours up until noon Eastern time to get you set for week number 2 of this 2024 campaign. Lisi guy, how was week number 1 for you? 5 consecutive days of football. We were here together on both Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, week 1 was amazing. Week 2 is going to be special as well. We saw an upset last night in regards to BYU knocking off SMU in their house. And the stage is set, Kev, for marquee battles. It starts at noon with Texas and Quinn Ewers taking on Michigan. They have a 23-game home winning streak. Will it continue tonight? And then that battle in Charlotte between Tennessee and NC State, that's going to be a dandy.
Yeah, I've heard some people down on this slate. I think it's a great slate of college football. But you're right. We did a double up last week. We were together. We broke down everything that happened Saturday. We haven't been able to all talk about, that Sunday and Monday. FSU's terrible. Told you that. Don't worry about it. Get rid of it. LSU for USC. Look, my take is I'm glad I have both of them. Those teams in my college football playoff. I think they're both legit contenders.
I'm not sure how steady this desk is, so don't pull a Brian Kelly in the post-game press conference and slam down on the table. But it was Southern Cal in Sin City emerging victorious, and Florida State not just winless 0-2, but 2 straight losses against ACC foes. Thomas Castellanos and Bill O'Brien, the new era for Boston college football. We'll talk about those teams. Florida State has a bye week, thankfully, here in week 2 before they get going the rest of the campaign. Kev, I love what you just said. Maybe some people look at the slate. There's not 5, 6, 7 ranked versus ranked top 25 tilts, but it's a darn good slate. In fact, it is the largest Saturday slate we have the entirety of this 2024 season. 75 FBS college football games on this Saturday, the most of any single Saturday the entirety of 2024. And Lisi guy, it begins bright and early with one of our 2 ranked versus ranked matchups. Noon Eastern time inside the Big House. A top 10 tilt. The reigning national champs. 10th ranked Michigan hosting 3rd ranked Texas. And this line has been all over the place. It opened in the early summer months at just 3.5 in favor of the Longhorns. That should cause some attention just to see a Texas team go into the home of the reigning national champs as a road favorite. But after a so-so week number 1 performance for the Maize and Blue against Fresno State and Texas thoroughly dominating and shutting out Colorado State, this line has ballooned north of a touchdown early this morning on game day Saturday. A 7.5-point spread is worked back slightly to the Maize and Blue. Now under a touchdown, a 6.5-point spread in favor of the Longhorns.
Yeah, and it's a contrast in styles, and we're seeing now more and more movement coming in on the under right now. It opened in the offseason around 44.5. We're seeing 41.5 respectively. And to your point, Quinn Ewers and Texas want to push tempo in terms of this matchup. They put up a 52 spot against Colorado State. Quinn Ewers was amazing, 260 yards basically in the first half. Isaiah Bond added, Kev, 61 yards through the air. Also ran it the way we saw Xavier Worthy did last night for Kansas City. So this is a high-powered offense. And when you look at Michigan, methodical, they shut down Mikey Keene and forced that offense to methodically work down the field. They got the critical turnovers, but that rushing attack with Donovan Edwards and Mullings needs to be better tonight to keep Texas off the sidelines. We'll see if they could do it.
Speaking of just quick numbers there, you mentioned the fact that we've gone from 7.5 to 6.5 looking like that primary number. Some 7s are certainly still out there. You could buy up that hook if you want. I think that's going to be interesting to see where that number finishes up. Khalil Mullings has a higher rushing yards prop than Donovan Edwards heading into this football game. Mullings is talented. Donovan Edwards is supposed to be one of the primary stars in all of college football. I know it might sound silly to some. There's a reason he's on the cover of that video game with Travis Hunter and Quinn Ewers, who's playing in this game for Michigan. The rush attack has to be better. I think it will be better. And we can get into who's going to win and lose this game. Look, I really like Michigan. I've liked Michigan heading into this season. You guys know I played a national title ticket here. Yeah. Some of that was, you have to project schedules. I thought they could win this football game against Texas. But for Michigan, if they're going to run the ball a ton, and I think they will run the ball a ton, it's hard to create enough separation to cover this number now of a touchdown plus, call it. they're going to run the ball here time in and time out against Texas.
Let's just do the math from a numbers perspective. 41.5 is the total, dropping from where it was when these numbers came out at 44 and a hook. If Texas is going to cover by a touchdown and now dropping under a TD is very important as well, they have to dominate Michigan, and the Wolverines cannot do much offensively. Kev, you love to do your spread math, so I go back to you quickly just on the numbers themselves from a handicapping perspective. Around that touchdown, important. But even when the Longhorns opened up as a 3.5-point favorite, to see this even flirt with a touchdown as the Longhorns are the road favorite inside the Big House, where Lisi is correct, Michigan has won 23 consecutive home games based on week one. In a one-game sample size, is it an overreaction or does it feel fair?
I think it's a massive overreaction here. Look, Michigan plus 7.5 is probably my single best bet on this slate here today. It's between that and some props from a side perspective. It's my favorite. I would be on Michigan heading into today's show at 4 or better with not much hesitation. So for anybody who's saying, hey, would you bet it under the 7.5? Yes, you want to always get the best number. But let's do some spread math. Let's just move some home fields around here. You can always debate what home field advantage is worth. I think Michigan's home field advantage is one of the best in college football.
No doubt.
If you're willing to call that 3.5 points, that means if this game was being played in Texas, you'd be looking at a near 2-touchdown line. It suggests not only that Michigan is nowhere near contender level, playoff level, it says that Texas is one of the 2 or 3 best teams in college football. I don't agree with that. I still believe the players that they lost, the specific type of players, Xavier Worthy, A.D. Mitchell, Jonathan Brooks, and then on the defensive side in Swift and Murphy, I just do not think that Texas, year over year, is as good. So I love Michigan in this spot here. I still never believed we were going to get a type of number of 7.5.
Yeah. I liked it at 3.5, but it is prevalent on Donovan Edwards and Mullings having success on the ground. Last week they averaged 4.4 yards per carry. From the quarterback perspective, though, there is concerns, right? Quinn Ewers is single-handedly the best quarterback on the field. Alex Orji and Warren struggled with consistency last week. You saw them struggle in regards to big passes over the top, couldn't maintain drives in regards to that. They struggled in regards to third down situations. So if Texas does start fast and take Donovan Edwards and the rushing attack out of the equation, that's why I think you're seeing 7.5 now. It's all prevalent on them starting fast and getting Michigan out of their game plan, but that's easier said than done against Wink Martindale's defense.
Kalel Mullings, 51.5 is his rushing yards prop. Last week, more carries, more yards than Donovan Edwards. 15 attempts, 92 yards against Fresno State. Alex Orji did not get the start at the quarterback position, did throw a touchdown that Donovan Edwards did catch, also had 5 carries, the athlete, for 32 yards. Davis Warren did get the starting nod for Sharon Moore in the season opener, 15 of 25, 118 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. What do you want to see out of Michigan offensively against this strong Texas defense?
Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. We'll get ready to speak Big Ten, buddy. I mean, this is what we're looking for here today. And this is what I want to make this point and tell people why I'm so high on Michigan. This is going to sound nuts to people. Head coaching matchup here, at worst, dead even. I know Sark has a reputation. Sharon Moore last year was the one on the sideline when they went to Penn State, let J.J. McCarthy, a top 10 draft choice, throw the football 8 times. Davis Warren's prop today is 145.5. I love Michigan. I'd probably still bet that thing under.
Yeah.
Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Ooh, what's that, 4th and 7? No punt. Run the ball. Just run the ball all day, Ben.
The Wolverines 148 yards as a team last week in the opener against the Bulldogs. Rivalries run deep in week number 2. We'll talk about it next.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh my God, no.
So what?
To say it out loud? Oh my God, you can't say that out loud. No, you can't even. You can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal? Either way.
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. The way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
The renewal of a Big 8 rivalry tonight in Lincoln, Nebraska, between the Cornhuskers of Nebraska and the Buffaloes of Colorado. We welcome you back to college football today, live right here on SportsGrid. Now just a 6.5-point spread in favor of the Huskers. We'll dive deep into the game and the odds in just a moment. The 73rd all-time meeting between these two former conference rivals from 1948 until 2010. They met each in every season. They've only met 3 times since 2018. And Kev, Colorado has won all 3, including last year in the home debut in Boulder of the Prime era. Deion Sanders and the Buffs answering the call after the huge upset last season against TCU. The line went crazy. Nebraska was a road favorite entering. It then quickly got down to Colorado, laying 2.5 for that home opener of the Prime era. And they made good on the number, winning 36-14. Colorado has won 3 straight. Deion Sanders has the advantage in head-to-head against Matt Rule, but now a 6.5-point spread in favor of the Huskers at home tonight in Lincoln. How do you see the changing numbers?
So I think it shows that Colorado's getting some respect here. This is one of those spots where I want to be very cautious with spread math because no team put books in a blender like the Colorado Buffaloes last year early season. They caught about 3 touchdowns from the runner-up TCU in that opening game. They went outright. They host Nebraska the next week, and the number shifts wildly. I believe Nebraska was supposed to be around a touchdown favorite, maybe near double digits even in that game. I think Colorado closed 2.5, I want to say. So, year over year, forget it.
Yeah.
Okay? Forget it. This, to me, is, can Colorado and this offensive ceiling hang now with a Nebraska team that's supposed to be significantly better? And conversely, if you're Nebraska, can you win a close football game, or is this going to be more of the same? Is this going to be another, 30-27, what do you want us to do? Shedeur let him down the field, lost a heartbreaker, because that's what Matt Rule needs to, in a way, not win this game by 14. I know it's going to sound crazy. He needs to win this game by 2. They need to win a close football game here.
No, I agree, and I think, a lot of pressure on not just Matt Rule, but Dylan Raiola in regards to this matchup. We talk about the explosiveness of Nebraska, 284 yards through the air last week. They ran it for over 200 against UTEP camp as well, average over 4 yards per carry. And we know about their defensive front, right? Had 7 sacks last year against Shedeur Sanders. But again, it's going to come down to turnovers. And again, which team will dictate the tempo? I think if you're taking Nebraska, Ben, and we talked about it all week as well, you want to get this game lower scoring. You want to utilize the rushing attack, utilize Raiola's arm, work off of play action, and keep that explosive offense on the sidelines. But I posed this question to the both of you earlier. What happens if Shedeur and Travis Hunter get out there in quarter one, 80-yard drive, just the way they did last week against North Dakota State, even though they were at home? It's game on now. Then all of a sudden, Matt Rule and all of a sudden Dylan Raiola get tight, and then that's where the advantage really shifts to Colorado and Deion Sanders and that team as a whole. Nobody is expecting, for some reason, Colorado to win this matchup.
That's kind of what I said last week, and you said that you would be stunned if Colorado wins here.
Correct.
In the world where that does happen, I'm curious what that would do to your perception of Colorado big picture. Does this feel like a team that all of a sudden then could win 8 football games on the year?
Yeah, absolutely so. Because my perception of Colorado, expecting improvement year over year following the season opener last week against North Dakota State, hasn't really changed. And I think CU, with its star power, and its star power is always going to shine bright. They have potentially 2 top 5 picks, and maybe, depending on who you ask, the best players at their respective positions, not just in the Big 12 or in this matchup, but maybe nationally. Shedeur Sanders at the quarterback spot, and whatever you want to categorize Travis Hunter as, the best two-way player in the sport without a shadow of a doubt. Shedeur Sanders last week against NDSU, 445 yards and 4 touchdowns, 3 of them going to Travis Hunter, the wide receiver, who played 129 snaps also on the defensive side of the football. The Buffs are going to look to expose Nebraska's secondary that I think is leaps and bounds ahead of where North Dakota State was last week. That is where I give Nebraska the edge. And in the trenches, North Dakota State had the advantage last week, and I think Nebraska has the advantage in this matchup in Lincoln. But, Kev, to your point, Matt Rule has been asked and has spoken a ton about what seems to be the curse of the Cornhuskers. 3-18 in one-score games the last 3 seasons. Some of that was Scott Frost, but even under Matt Rule a year ago, 1-5 straight up in games decided by a single score. This is supposed to be a single-score game with the spread now just 6.5 in favor of the Huskers. Do you think the game will resemble what the lines are telling us?
I do. I think Colorado can hang here. I think these teams can go back and forth, trading shots, no doubt. My favorite bet is Dylan Raiola over his prop, 234-plus passing yards, is at -120 juice. I think that this team, look, you got to try and go through the box score last week in their game against UTEP. He only played a half plus, right, a half at a drive, but this team was running fast. Yeah. And I know the throw rate wasn't monstrous. It could increase in a game like this. The CU secondary was bad last week. And if you look at his efficiency, I think 250 is a floor. I think 300's on the board. And I think, Joe, and you can speak to it because, again, you know the game so well and you know the history of the game. What a quarterback matchup. This would be like if Trevor Lawrence was going up against Kyler Murray that freshman year. You've got a potential battle of future number 1 overall picks.
You do, and that's why the total is interesting as well, because 56.5, do we get a scoreless first quarter or 8 minutes in and that number drops under 50? That might be an area to jump in. I think when you look at this matchup, I'm not inclined to bet this game early on right now. I do lean to Nebraska because, to your point, Ben, the physicality, offensive, defensive lines. But again, I am concerned about Shedeur Sanders from the prop perspective. I'm not looking Shedeur yet. I'm not looking Travis Hunter. I looked at Jimmy Horn, 7 receptions, $198 and 2. We know Nebraska going to try at least to limit Travis Hunter. Give me Jimmy Horn all night.
8 grabs, 64 yards for Horn last year against NU. Shedeur Sanders, 393 yards and 2 touchdowns last year against the Huskers. Dylan Raiola last week in his career debut in Lincoln, 238 passing yards, the most for a Nebraska quarterback since 2022, and Dylan Raiola, the highest-rated PFF true freshman quarterback performance since 2018. Our second top 25 tilt of this Saturday next.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
no to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. The way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Two ranked versus ranked matchups on this second Saturday of the 2024 college football season. We welcome you back to College Football Today, live right here on SportsGrid. We already hit on the first, the top 10 tilt inside the big house between Texas and Michigan. Now we go to the nightcap in prime time in Charlotte. 24th ranked NC State takes on number 14 Tennessee. The game is technically a neutral site, Kev, in Charlotte, but not all that far away from Raleigh, the trip for the Pack. It is a 9.5-point spread in favor of the Volunteers with a total at 60 in a hook. Like our first ranked matchup of the day, we have seen considerable line movement based on the results of Week 1. NC State tested by FCS foe Western Carolina. WCU had a lead early in the fourth quarter. Tennessee hammers FCS foe Chattanooga 69-3. The line now close to double digits. How do you see this matchup playing out?
I would lean towards Tennessee on the side here. Some of that, again, is kind of preseason perception. I think the Vols are better. I do think you're paying a premium on this, but it's one of those times. Look, sometimes you want to get a great number. Sometimes you go, they're going to win by 10 anyway, and I think that could very well be the case here. But what I'm on is under 61. I am not a full believer in Grayson McCall at this level. At Coastal Carolina, next to no reps against legitimate opponents, except for last year's opening game against UCLA on the road, led that team to 13 points when their team total was about 24.5 in that matchup. And I think the Vols pack a much better punch on the defensive side of the football than that UCLA's team would have been. And I know you could say, oh, but he's at NC State this year. It's much better. Is it? Is it? I mean, I know they got to 38 against Western Carolina. It took everything out of them to get to that number against Western Carolina. And if you're saying, okay, fine, I buy you on the McCall portion of the under, what if Nikki Treat goes out there, puts up 40, 50 points? Yeah. If you go back to when they had Hendon Hooker, the Hendon Hooker year, one of his worst games was at Pitt week 2. Yeah. Tough matchup, not a rivalry game, but obviously a big game, double-ranked teams. And that was a Hendon Hooker who had already had a full season under his belt. I think this is going to be the toughest test that Nico's had so far with respect to the bowl game against Iowa. it's a bowl game. So I think here, NFL Stadium, NC State's defense is going to be playing with their hair on fire. I like under 61.
Yeah, I think if you're back in NC State in this matchup, you want to get it under the 61, 60.5 in regards to that matchup. You want to utilize Jordan Waters in that rushing attack. Waters did rush for over 4 yards per carry, 2 rushing touchdowns, most of it in the second half. NC State came out flat, no doubt about it, against Western Carolina. Grayson McCall, to Kevin's point as well, was very inconsistent last year as well in limited action for Coastal Carolina. 2 years ago, he was a much more efficient quarterback in regards to that scheme, could run it, could throw it, only had 3 interceptions, but last year he did struggle, and NC State has struggled in regards to getting transfer quarterbacks. Brennan Armstrong struggled last year in the scheme. So what are you going to get in regards to NC State defensively in this matchup? I think you're seeing the line movement for a couple of factors. Week 1 perception and the SEC-ACC argument. We saw Clemson get blown out, Florida State as well. If this is the next man up and best team, they're going to need to run the football. I think this is a very difficult matchup, contrast in styles. I will take the 9.5, but again, it's just like Michigan. If they fall behind, could be lights out, and Tennessee could put a 40 spot up.
You see that plus 950 price on NC State to win the ACC. It's now the 4th best number. The Wolfpack have been a consistent team in this conference with all the issues that Florida State has experienced. Clemson boat raced in week number 1. Some look to the pack, but some of the uncertainty in the Atlantic Coast Conference is also with NC State struggling against Western Carolina. Jordan Waters in his debut, the Duke transfer, 124 yards, but more than 70 of that coming in the final 7 minutes of the game as the Wolfpack were finally able to take the lead and ice the game away. Grayson McCall in his debut, 318 yards for NC State, 3 touchdowns and an interception. NC State relies on the defense under Dave Doran, a team that has won at least 8 games each of the last 3 years, top 5 in the ACC in terms of scoring defense. But Kev, you look at this Volunteers team, 20-9 against the spread under Josh Heupel since the start of 2021 as a favorite. It's the 6th best cover percentage as the favorite side nationally.
Yeah, this is, to me, though, again, if you think about at large, I think the ACC, it just looks so done unless you are Miami. But for Tennessee, that's why this is such a big game. A loss here, look, it'll keep NC State ranked. A win's not going to do so much. But a loss here is really going to hurt when we're kind of trying to really narrow it down much later on in the season.
A 15-1 SEC price for the Vols, but just plus 185 to reach the college football playoff. More next.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't even. You can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. The way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
$75 FBS college football games on this second full Saturday of the 2024 season. It is the most we will see on a single Saturday all year long. Cherish every moment, and that includes 10 p.m. Eastern time out in Eugene inside Autzen Stadium. An Oregon team that was tested by FCS foe Idaho. You heard us break down the game last week on Sunday in that special edition of CFT. Oregon coming nowhere close to covering as a 48.5-point favorite, only winning by 10 against the Vandals, up by just 3 early in the fourth quarter. So how does Oregon respond now against a Group of 5 team in Boise State that put up some prolific offensive numbers last week, led by their star running back Ashton Jeanty, and a Boise State team that won the Mountain West a season ago and is an odds-on favorite to make it 2 straight? Lisi guy, we go late night to Autzen Stadium. Oregon now close to a 3-touchdown favorite against the Broncos. Many thought this line might work against the Ducks. It's now at 19.5 and approaching 20.5 in some spots. The odds makers expecting the resolve out of Oregon. What say you?
I think they step up in a big way, and I think they, in fact, cover this number. Now, when you look at last week's performances, Oregon struggled with Idaho. That was a team that they had dominated 23 straight meetings. They were 23-0 in terms of that win streak. They gave up 3 sacks. That was untypical in regards to that. 5 sacks allowed all of last year. And I remember sitting around talking to the both of you saying, Dylan Gabriel was pedestrian, finished with over 300 yards and completed 83% of his passes, Kevin. To me, that's the matchup. As good as Boise State was on the ground with Gentry last week, that defense got torched for well over 300 yards. I think Dylan Gabriel starts fast. Those wide receivers exploit the secondary, and I think it's Oregon and the over later tonight.
Totally disagree. Well, the total, whatever. I don't care. This is one of these games where I looked at it and I go, oh, man, Oregon was disappointing, probably a buy low. And I went, oh, no, wait, never mind. I'm out on the Ducks. This is a great spot for Boise, who last week in a win and a near cover also has some things that they need to figure out. That defense is supposed to be much better than what we saw last week. Right. I think that unit's going to look to step up in a major way. And for people who are saying, the box score says Oregon deserved better. Okay, they were 50-point favorites. So maybe they should have won the game by 24 instead of who cares? They were one of the most underwhelming teams in all of week 1.
No doubt.
Any way you slice it, and you go up against the Boise team that I think could be very difficult to create necessary separation to cover a number like this because of Ashton Jeanty. The ball will stay on the ground, and it'll be good work on the ground because of the caliber of running back that Boise State has here. I like this game here at 19.5. I'm on the Broncos.
When you look at Ashton Jeanty, last week a record-setting day for the Broncos. 267 yards against Georgia Southern and 6 touchdowns, a school record and matching a Mountain West record as well. Dylan Gabriel's passing yards prop against Boise tonight, 330.5. He threw for 380 yards and 2 touchdowns against Idaho. But it was a weird game. The box score does not mean that Oregon deserves better, but it's interesting when you see the numbers and why did Oregon only win by 10? A strip sack, one of those 3 sacks that the Oregon Ducks O-line gave up last week near the red zone in the second half that Idaho recovered. 2 turnovers on downs late in the second half as well, despite the Vandals putting up only 217 total yards and going just 2 of 12 on third down. But Boise State, second worst passing defense in the Mountain West a year ago, giving up more than 250 per game, did allow Georgia Southern, Clay Helton's Eagles, and J.C. French, the quarterback, to throw for 322 yards and 2 touchdowns a week ago. Boise State is a team that I had from the Group of 5 component to be into the college football playoff. Kev, your G5 conference champion into the CFP. Appalachian State. And what a game for the Mountaineers tonight in Clemson, South Carolina against the Tigers. Clemson still remaining in the top 25 ever so slightly after getting drubbed by Georgia in Atlanta in the season opener. 16.5-point spread, though, Kev, in favor of the Tigers. Will App State keep it closer?
I think they certainly can. They've got a great history of doing just that. But I'm on under 52.5 here. Maybe I'm chasing my tail as somebody who loved over last week in Clemson's game with Georgia, but I'm using that game as a foundation for my under bet here. I know the Bulldogs' defense is what it is, and it projects the way it does, but that offense is supposed to be one of the absolute best in college football, so I don't think we should look at App State and Joey Aguiar and think that team would be on the same level. My point is, that game was at a total of 49.5. We shoot up to 52.5 here. Oh, well, Clemson's offense is going to be great. Based on what? App State still has a very strong defense for the G5 level, and I don't think that Cade Klubnik's going to lead 35, 40 type of points performance here. And I know Georgia ultimately landed at 34 in that game. It was 6 at the break. I think the defense got worn down. At home here, I think Clemson defensively steps up in a major, major way, and I think this is under 52.5.
They might. I mean, this is one of my better picks in regards to the afternoon. I like Clemson in regards to this matchup, a bounce-back spot. They got nationally embarrassed against top-ranked Georgia, 3 points. Cade Klubnik looked like a deer in the headlights, can only run for 46 yards on the ground, but this is a team in Clemson at home, Ben. 58-3 straight up since 2015. They lose to the likes of Pittsburgh back in 2015, Florida State and South Carolina. I don't think they lose to App State. They're 12-0 all-time against the Sun Belt, 5-0 all-time against App State. And again, you look at App State last week, they allowed 183 rushing yards on the ground. It's a big offensive line performance. Look for Maffa and the crew. The fact that it opened at 20 and is now down to 16.5, 17, I'm laying it with Clemson.
But in the decline of Clemson football from their nationally successful standards the last 3 years, twice as many home losses, 2 as in that 6-year straight run of CFP appearances when they were 40-1 at home. As a favorite, though, just 17-20 against the number in the last 3 years. Meanwhile, Sean Clark, now the head coach at his alma mater, took the reins full-time back in 2020 for Appalachian State. They're 6-3-1 against the spread. When people think underdogs in college football, they look at the Mountaineers. And keep an eye on Caden Robinson. We'll get to his receiving yards prop later in the show. 8 grabs and 103 yards last week from Joey Aguilar. The offensive attack, I think, adds it up tonight on Clemson, at least in the receiving category. Tulane is a team that probably flirted with what would have been one of those group of 5 automatic bids to the college football playoff in years past. A great debut for John Sumrall last week for the Green Wave. He wins his opener at the helm and the head coach of Tulane. He is now 24-4, first at Troy for the last 2 years, and now with Tulane. He's got the 3rd best win percentage of all head coaches in college football. In the Big Easy this weekend, Tulane gets ready to host K-State. 8.5-point spread, Joe, in favor of the Wildcats on the road. Kansas State on the road in this matchup. How do you see it playing out?
Well, the fact that it's in the Big Easy is the big difference. We saw them go toe-to-toe with Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss last year, almost cover a 10.5-point number, and they knocked off K-State a couple of years ago, 17-10. I think they run it, keep it within the number. I think Avery Johnson and Kansas State are on upset alert today.
I couldn't get there on this game. I'd probably lean your way, Joe, if this was double digits. Maybe I need to play it. It's one of these games, though, where if Willie Fritz was still here, I think we would really be eye-popping on Tulane. Yeah. He has so consistently been so good against these bigger teams. We'll do Houston OU in a bit here. But there's too much change for me with Tulane to trust them here under double digits against the K-State team that projects to be really, really dangerous both sides of the ball.
Last 2 years for the Green Wave, 3-2, both straight up and against the number as an underdog. K-State last week knocking off UT Martin 41-6, slightly missing out on a cover as a 36.5-point favorite. Avery Johnson, shaky really in his debut, now taking the mantle in the Little Apple, 153 yards, 2 touchdowns, and INT, but 37 yards on the ground. DJ Giddens last week, 13 carries, 124 yards. The lead back for K-State put up at least 115 in the final 4 games for the Wildcats a season ago. But Tulane, good against the run. Brand supremacy in college football this weekend next.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't even. You can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. The way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
As we said earlier on in this opening hour, it's week 2 of the 2024 college football season, live right here on College Football Today. And in week 2, rivalries run deep. The Cy-Hawk Trophy game today in Iowa City between the Hawkeyes of Iowa and the Cyclones of Iowa State. Iowa ranked 21st in the country now, an offensive juggernaut. Perhaps we'll discuss. 2.5-point favorite for this rivalry series, renewed for a 71st all-time meeting. Total 35.5. And you know that is where we must begin. It is the second lowest total in the history of the Cy-Hawk Trophy game. Only beat by last year's total of 34.5. And with Iowa winning for the 8th time in the last decade, 20-13, it stayed under. 5 unders in a row, Joe Lisi. Does the trend continue today?
No, I think we bucked the trend. I'm shocked, Kev. I thought this was going to be the game of the week when we came in.
Seems lucky it's on the show.
You mentioned 5 straight unders. They've averaged 29 points per game during that span, and Iowa has won 8 of the last 10. And we saw a 400-yard total yard output against Eastern Illinois. I mean,
more of that?
Unbelievable.
492, Lisi.
There you go. So hopefully Tim Lester could dial it up today. I still go and breaking down this matchup to the better quarterback, which I actually believe is on Iowa State. Rocco Becht struggled a little bit. They struggled last week running the football, only averaged 84 yards on the ground, 4 yards per rush. I think they run it. I think they throw it over the top, and I think we can get over the 35.5. I'm going to take the points with Iowa State. I do not love it, Kev, but I think Iowa State does come through on the money line and over today.
This is, look, I'll just say this. This game, this total, this stuff that you love is exactly why Iowa's never getting into the playoff. Unless this game goes over, they aren't getting into the playoff with this garbage. I just want that to be very clear.
A win today, they're on pace for 11. They're making it to the college football playoff.
All right, yeah. Listen, I know. Let's get multiple G5 teams in there, too. Here is the thing, though, with the trend of the under.
Yeah.
7 of the last 10 games would have gone over this total.
Fair.
Eventually, these things catch up. Eventually, Army-Navy goes over. I also would lean over, but I also would lean towards Iowa in that I'm not a big believer in Rocco Becht nor Matt Campbell. You know, again, some of the preseason research allows certain things to jump off the page, and I've heard a lot of hype around the Cyclones. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll buy into this team. A lot of returning talent. Like, man, let me see Matt Campbell. What are we doing here with Matt Campbell? Yeah. There aren't double-digit win seasons on this resume. I know that he's great as an underdog. He's got some good covers and upset here and there, but ultimately, with Ferentz in his first game back, obviously missing last week, you should get a fire-up Iowa team. And one of the difference makers, and another reason I'd lean over, Caleb Johnson. Missed the first half last week, I think due to a suspension. Well, he made a point in that second half. He looked unbelievable there, and I think that gives Iowa a little bit of extra pop on the offensive side of the ball.
The leading back for the Hawks last week, 119 yards, 2 touchdowns on display in that second half. Just 2 field goals and 7 first-half offensive drives for Iowa in the season opener against Illinois State. 5 touchdowns on 6 offensive possessions in the second half. 492 yards out of Iowa offensively in week number 1. 40th most in the country. The last time, trivia on the CFT desk, that Iowa ranked inside the top 50 in total offense for a season was?
1984?
Incorrect.
Brad Banks in
2006 for the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Orange Bowl team, no?
Well, maybe so. So that's where Iowa stacks up against an Iowa State team tested by North Dakota last week, only winning 21-3. Caleb Bacon, who was second on the team last year for the Clones in tackles, suffering a knee injury, is going to be out for some time, a detriment to a strong Iowa State defense. Now we go to what should be a more frequent rivalry than it is, the last meeting between two schools that are only 2.5 hours apart driving. It's Oklahoma State and Arkansas. That last matchup way back in 1980. Both playing FCS foes in week number 1, but different calibers. The Pokes, really good, Kev, against the 2-time reigning FCS national title winners in South Dakota State. They win 44-20. Ollie Gordon II looks like OG2, 126 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground, and they knock off the Jackrabbits 44-20, easily covering as a 12.5-point favorite. 2024 for Arkansas, a good debut under Sam Pittman. 70-zip over Arkansas Pine Bluff. The Razorbacks, one of 13 FBS schools to shut out an opponent in week number 1. 9.5-point spread in favor of the Cowboys. How are you feeling?
My Oklahoma State Cowboys today in a great spot here. I really like them in this spot, and I love Ollie Gordon. Let me just say this. Get in before it is too late. Ollie Gordon Heisman is 60-1. You know what Ollie Gordon's rushing prop is today against an SEC team? 130.5. Ollie Gordon is going to put up a monstrous statistical season, and all my Oklahoma State Cowboys need to do is get into that Big 12 title game, and you'll be glad you bet it. Now, Joe, what do you like in this game?
I will say this. This is becoming one of my favorite games of the day because I really love Big Suey. I love them today. Here's the biggest thing. Throw out last week's performance against Arkansas Pine Bluff. It comes down to the physicality, in my opinion, offensive defensive lines. We talked about it all week. Arkansas averages 321 pounds on the offensive line, 260 for the defensive front for Oklahoma State. I know about Ollie Gordon. I'm sitting on a 75-1 ticket with Big Ollie, but I'll tell you what, Jaquindon Action Jackson. That's the difference. He rushed for well over 80 yards in regards to that matchup, the physicality of the SEC offensive line. And Taylon Green is a very good quarterback in this scheme, threw for well over 60% of his passes, 200 yards. They threw for 400. And Alan Bowman, guys, still is the Achilles heel for that offense. This game goes down to the wire. I will say this, trend is for Oklahoma State, 19-2 straight up over the past couple of seasons in Stillwater.
Games at noon Eastern time. And you're telling me we're not watching this game together with what I'm seeing here on the desk? You know what he told me the other day on the radio show on Football Full Circle?
Tell me.
I put Oklahoma State on the map.
I did. I had them in the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, and what happened? They got
yes,
and you jumped ship, and then here I come. Life raft. Ollie, come home. Heisman Trophy, it's waiting in the truck.
Unbelievable.
More college football today. Up next.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't even. You can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. The way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Innovation never stops here on the desk of college football today and in the mind of old K-Dubs, Kevin Walsh. When you have 75 FBS college football games on a single Saturday, the most we will see in a single day all year long, we must go fast. Not once, but twice.
Let's hit it, man. Let's get this RPO going and rolling. One day, I would love if you just ran the clock out on RPO.
Just keep going.
You know what I mean?
I noticed about 10 seconds into me talking, I'm like, I'm talking a lot. We got to get going.
Take a knee. Take a knee.
Hurry up, offense. 5-4, delay a game penalty. Let's open this up with Baylor, Utah here. This number was 17 on a look-ahead. It's down to 14.5, so the Bears are taking some money here. These teams played last year, but it looked a lot different for both of these teams. Changing quarterbacks, Cam Rising back in the fold. DeQuan Finn comes over from Toledo. I'll start this off by letting you know DeQuan Finn over 18.5 rushing yards is my favorite prop on this slate. Finn last week had a 39-yard touchdown and finished with 19 yards. That's betting rushing quarterbacks. Guess what? That's what's giving us this value. At Toledo against Illinois, 75 yards on the ground. And against Ohio State, while with Toledo, 70 on the ground. 50-plus is 9-1. Don't be scared. I know you're on a side in this game.
I like Baylor in regards to this matchup. Numbers favor Utah, 19-1 straight up over the past few seasons. They won last year by an average margin of victory of 19.8 points per game. But the ability for Baylor to run the football, I think that's critical to DeQuan Finn's success in regards to this matchup. Richard Reese, I think that's the difference. This game was a 7-point number, and I know Cam Rising didn't play last year in Waco, but from a defensive perspective, they have a type of scheme to limit Utah down the field. Give me the 14.5 with Baylor.
Last year, Utah in Waco won by 7, did not cover as a 7.5-point favorite. In Cam Rising's return last week against Southern Utah, albeit his 7th year of college football, started with 5 first-half offensive possessions in 5 touchdown tosses. I like Cam Rising over his passing yards prop that is on the rise already by 10 yards from where I put it in yesterday. 213 and a hook is now 223 and a half. Utah had their 18-game home win streak snapped last year by Oregon, but still, in the last 5 full seasons of college football, the Utes have won at least 8 games. They're 23 and 13 against the spread at home in that span. what a debut it was in a negative way for Willie Fritz at Houston. The Cougs last week, 3.5-point favorite against a good UNLV team and Barry Odom. They got blown out by 20 as a 3.5-point home favorite. So a sour taste in the Willie Fritz debut. And Kev, it might not get any easier this week in Norman. Oklahoma, a 4-touchdown favorite against Houston.
Yeah, I'm on Houston here. I'm trusting Willie Fritz in a spot like this. I think they're going to obviously be looking to bounce back off of that awful performance from UNLV. He's coached before against Oklahoma in Norman. Comfortable, always got his teams up to play great groups. And listen, I know last week OU rolls Temple, 43.5-point favorite. They covered, but they were supposed to win by that margin.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really like Houston in regards to this matchup. Biggest progression from week 1 to week number 2 in regards to the new head coach. And Oklahoma feasted off 6 turnovers by that Temple offense. Jackson Arnold was good, but only threw for 141 yards in that matchup. Donovan Smith, this offense, I think will be much more consistent. This line was 21.5 pre-kick in the start of the year. Now it's up to well over 4 touchdowns. Give me Houston to cover this number.
Donovan Smith, 2 interceptions last week against the running Rebs of UNLV. Kansas on the road in Champaign, a 4.5-point favorite. Lisi guy are the Jayhawks. They're up inside the top 20 now. This, the first sellout for Illinois in football since 2016. Only a 4.5-point spread. How electric is the atmosphere tonight?
Oh, it's going to be electric, but I still lean to the speed of Kansas. Devin Neal and Jalen Daniels, I think, are the difference. They were a 4-2 road team last year. I think they put the pressure on Luke Altmaier and that offense. That's the difference Kansas covers.
I'm on the other side here. Last year, Kansas at home laid 3.5 in this game. We reverse placed. What's 4.5 now? I know everyone's excited about Jalen Daniels. I think this number's gone too far. Loved what we saw from Altmaier in week number 1. I thought they looked better than Kansas did against their opponent, Ben.
A rematch from 2023. Kansas winning 34-23. Kev, quickly back to you. A rematch between Auburn and Cal from last year. Auburn winning last year 14-10, did not cover as a 5.5-point favorite in Berkeley. This one in Jordan-Hare, and now close to a 2-touchdown number.
Yeah, tough game here. I don't love either one of these football teams. Catching double digits might lean Cal. Where are you?
I like Cal just because Justin Wilcox needs the game. 4-13 over the past couple of seasons on the road. That's the difference. They keep it close.
Jaden Ott last year, 78 yards and a touchdown against the Tigers. One of the best backs in now the ACC. Listed as probable, was banged up in the opener for the Bears. Hour 2 comes your way next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! SWAT champion Champions do.